The winter wind rushed through the old train station, carrying with it the smell of iron, dust, and roasted peanuts sold by vendors shouting over the noise. Commuters moved in every direction, some rushing to catch their trains, others lingering with heavy eyes, lost in thought. Amid the chaos, a man in his late 30s walked with slow, careful steps, balancing the weight of his world not on his shoulders but deep inside his tired eyes. His name was Daniel Carter. To anyone passing by, he was just another working-class father in worn-out shoes and a jacket that had seen far better days. But behind those tired eyes lived a man who carried a universe of love for his little girl, Lily, a 7-year-old with pigtails, a laugh that could melt sorrow, and dreams far too big for their small apartment. Daniel had been working odd jobs since the factory he worked at shut down 2 years ago. He carried boxes at warehouses, repaired fences, swept sidewalks, anything that would put food on the table and cover the rent for the one-bedroom place he and Lily called home. Life had been hard, but Daniel's heart was soft, and that softness guided everything he did. On that particular evening, Daniel had just finished a 12-hour shift carrying crates at a nearby depot. His back ached, his palms were raw, and his body longed for rest. But instead of going home, he came to the train station. Every Friday, he took the train to a cheaper market 2 towns over, where groceries cost less. It was the only way he could stretch his small wages enough to afford Lily's school lunches and the occasional treat. As he stood on the cold platform, waiting for the train, his eyes wandered. That's when he saw her. She was standing a few yards away, struggling with 2 massive suitcases and a smaller bag slung over her shoulder. She wore a long wool coat, her hair neatly tied, but her eyes revealed a quiet frustration as she tried to lift the heavy bags onto a bench. People passed by, men in business suits, young college students, even porters, but no one stopped. They glanced, they moved on, as though kindness had become too expensive. Daniel didn't think twice. His feet moved before his mind could argue about his aching back. "Excuse me, ma'am," he said, his voice polite but gentle. "Let me help you with those." She turned, a little startled. Her eyes, sharp yet tired, met his. For a moment, she studied him, the stubble on his jaw, the worn jacket, the calloused hands. Something about his presence felt genuine, without agenda. "That's very kind of you," she said softly. "But they're really heavy." Daniel smiled faintly. "That's all right. I'm used to heavy." He bent down, grabbed both suitcases with practiced strength, and placed them on the bench as if they weighed nothing. Then he looked back at her, brushing the dust off his palms. "There you go." She exhaled, relief softening her features. "Thank you. I didn't expect anyone to stop." Daniel shrugged lightly. "Well, sometimes all we need is someone who does." Her lips curled into the smallest of smiles, but she quickly composed herself. She was not used to strangers being so selfless, especially men who asked for nothing in return. "Are you traveling far?" Daniel asked, noticing her eyes darting to the clock above. "Yes," she replied. "A business trip. Though, to be honest, the business never really ends." Daniel chuckled. "Sounds important." She tilted her head, as though debating whether to say more. "You could say that." Just then, her phone buzzed. She answered quickly, her tone professional, clipped, and commanding. Words like merger, contract, and investment spilled from her lips. Daniel, not wanting to intrude, simply stepped aside. But while she spoke, her eyes occasionally flicked back at him, the stranger who had carried her bags without knowing her name. Her name was Victoria Hayes. To the world, she was one of the youngest CEOs in the state, the head of a multi-million-dollar corporation. She had climbed her way through endless boardrooms filled with doubt and condescension, proving her worth in a field where power was currency. She had everything: wealth, status, respect. But what she didn't have, not really, was connection. Genuine kindness came at a price in her world, and most people around her wore masks. That's why Daniel's gesture hit differently. He hadn't asked who she was, hadn't tried to impress her, hadn't even lingered to benefit. He simply helped because she needed help. When she hung up, she found Daniel still nearby, holding a bag of groceries in one hand and a tired smile in the other. Something tugged at her heart. "You're waiting for the train too?" she asked. "Yes. Got to pick up some things for my daughter. She likes the oranges from the market in Oakwood. Says they're sweeter." His eyes softened as he spoke of her, as though the thought of his daughter dissolved all his weariness. Victoria studied him, curiosity sparking. "You're a single father?" Daniel nodded. "Her mom passed away 5 years ago. It's just been us since then." There was a pause. The crowd bustled around them, announcements echoed through the station, but in that moment, the world felt smaller, just two souls standing still. "You must be strong," Victoria said gently. Daniel shook his head. "No. I just do what I have to. She deserves more than what life's thrown at her. If carrying a little extra weight means she smiles at dinner, then I'll carry it gladly." Something cracked open in Victoria's chest. For years, she had been surrounded by powerful men who boasted of their strength in boardrooms. Yet here was a man who defined strength not by wealth or authority but by love. The train screeched into the station, breaking their silence. People rushed forward, pushing and shoving to find seats. Daniel lifted her bags again without a word and carried them onto the train, setting them neatly in the luggage rack before taking a modest seat by the window. Victoria, almost instinctively, sat across from him. As the train rumbled forward, their conversation deepened. She asked about Lily, and his eyes lit up as he described her favorite bedtime stories, her stubborn bravery, and the way she once told him, "Daddy, you don't need money to be a hero. You're already mine." Victoria listened, captivated. Each word revealed a man rich in values, not in dollars. She found herself laughing softly at his stories, feeling warmth seep into places inside her that had long been cold. Daniel, on the other hand, learned little about her. She remained vague, saying she worked in business, carefully avoiding titles or wealth. But Daniel didn't pry. To him, she was just a woman with heavy bags and kind eyes. That was enough. When the train stopped at Oakwood, Daniel stood, ready to part ways. "It was nice talking to you. Safe travels, ma'am." Victoria's heart twisted at the formality. She wanted to say more, to stop him, but words failed her. She watched as he stepped off the train, his grocery bag swinging by his side, disappearing into the crowd. For the rest of her journey, she couldn't stop thinking about him. About the man who carried more than just bags. About the father.